What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mile High Hockey. We'll get to the Avs and Blackhawks game last night in just a second. But, Mike, I want to start with Erik Johnson on the NHL on TNT broadcast pregame. Now, the game was blacked out for a lot of folks here on TNT, but it did go viral. His interview, and it's an interview worth watching because the whole thing's interesting. But the most fascinating part was he gets asked about Gabriel Landeskog and is joking about the cameras and the docuseries and all this. And then at the very end, he pulls what Gabe pulled at the golf tournament last year at the BMW Championship at Castle Pines and says, you know, guys, it's really a matter of when, not if. And so I'm sort of wondering, did Erik Johnson spill the beans about Gabriel Landeskog coming back this season?
Yeah, it's a great question, but wasn't it kind of open-ended? Because was it him saying he'll return when, not if for the playoffs? Or, yes, he's going to return to hockey, but it may not be until next season. He is going to come back. Look, at this point, I think the writing's on the wall, Will. I fully expect and will be, honestly, disappointed and let down if he's not back for the playoffs. At this point, I'm expecting playoffs.
Well, and you're right. And you bring up a good point, but I interpret it as this year because Erik was sort of joking about, like, I see all these cameras in the locker room and the docuseries, and Gabe spent all this time and energy and money on trying to get back. And I think what EJ was getting at was, like, once he gets back, those dang cameras get out of our locker room, which I don't think he's expecting the cameras to be in the locker room the entire playoff run. That's where I think the organization, Jared Bednar, would put their foot down and say, no. We're not doing docuseries as we're trying to get ready for the Western Conference Final, and Gabe still may come back. That's why I interpret it as Erik Johnson thinks he's going to be back round one, game one.
That's how I'm looking at it right now. And so as far as I'm concerned, we could start having the conversation. Is he back for just round one, game one? Do you wait for the first game back at home, game 3, so you can just really tap into the emotion of it? What kind of role? Are we talking about, him jumping right onto the second line? Are we talking fourth line? Is he killing penalties? I think it's fair to start expanding the discussion beyond not only do you think he's going to come back, but, okay, what's his role going to be?
Oh, I totally agree, because we've talked about it a little bit. Fans love Gabe Landeskog, but just to expect him to be Gabe Landeskog and, he's out there with Nathan McKinnon and Arturi Lehkonen, like, that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen. He's going to be, in my eyes, Mike, he's like a 10 to 12 minute a night kind of guy. I do think you could put him on power play too, as a big body in front of the net, because he's got great hand-eye and can score there. I'm not so sure about the penalty kill, just because if the knee's not cutting right, then all of a sudden you're playing 5-on-3 on some of these penalty kills if he looks like his speed isn't up to par. And then I'm being very clear that this is all super flexible. Like, if it's not working and I'm Jared Bednar, I reserve the right to go in a different direction and even scratch Gabriel Landeskog. As uncomfortable as that would be, right, that's something that has to be in consideration, because we're here to win a cup this year, not here to tell some fun story about Gabriel Landeskog necessarily.
And I think Gabe recognizes that too. I don't think, as much as Gabe wants to come back, I think one thing we've learned from Gabe over the years, and certainly watching the docuseries, is that this guy really, he takes his role as a teammate very, very seriously. And so I don't think that Gabe, as much as this means to him, there's no way he would go out and do anything that would potentially hurt this hockey team. If he does not feel, or if Jared Bednar came to him, or if Nathan McKinnon or Cale Makar came to him and said, look, dude, we love you, but we just don't think you're ready to go out there and play at a Stanley Cup playoff level, I don't think he would pitch a fit over that at all. It's just not who he is.
I don't think he'd pitch a fit, but I think he would still be heartbroken. I mean, this guy has worked his tail off the last 3 years. And I think the disappointment, because if he gets back in the lineup, Mike, and then he's a healthy scratch at some point, and he's a healthy scratch the rest of the playoffs, that is writing on the wall that he has to retire. There's really no other option at that point if basically the hockey team told him you weren't good enough to play for us anymore.
Whoa, that's a big jump, Will. We're talking about there's a big difference between after not playing for 3 years, not being quite up to snuff to go out and play in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's a lot different than, hey, you've done enough over these last couple of months to get back to this level. Now add in another offseason as well. We can feel confident about you being part of our plans to start next season. I don't think you would have to take him not being instantly ready to go for the playoffs as a sign that he can't come back at all.
No, but I just think it'd be that mental wall. Like, he went on Spit and Chicklets the other day and said a lot of guys in my shoes would have retired by now. Like, I just think he's on the verge of being not only physically drained, but mentally drained as well. I'm speculating, I get it, but I'm telling you that if he got benched after coming back in the playoffs, it would not shock me if he retired. If he just said, this is not meant to be. I don't think you can do that and then be like, oh, but golly gee shucks, I'm ready for an 82-game grind in 3 months. Like, I think this whole thing has just drained him to an extent that we can't even really wrap our minds around. And I'm just saying that could be the final straw. That's all I'm getting at.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about what happened in Chicago last night because, oh boy, Mike, the first 40-ish minutes of that game were tough to watch. It was a team that, you know, we talked about the senioritis the other day, but boy, that was even more than senioritis. That was not showing up to class. That was, you know, blowing off school with your buddies and going to play golf or something. I don't know what it was. But then all of a sudden, Kel McCarr scores to make it 2-1. They score with 9.8 seconds left in regulation to get it to a shootout. And then in a shootout, Scott Wedgwood makes a couple saves, and Nathan McKinnon and Arturi Lehkonen are the heroes. And all of a sudden, you look like crud for 40 minutes, and the Avalanche leave with 2 points. What was your biggest takeaway from kind of an eventful but ugly night in Chicago?
See, I don't know. Maybe I'm just, you know, Pollyannish about this. I thought last night was really good for the Avs because this is one of those games they've already admitted, or Jared Bednar talked the other day about the difficulty of being able to match the intensity of teams that are still trying to get into the playoffs, right? Well, it's even harder when you're playing a team that's got nothing to play for, like the Chicago Blackhawks. Now you're like, where do we get any kind of energy for this thing? So the fact that if they had played, if those first two periods had also become the third period and it was a 60-minute game and they lost 2-0, then you're starting to wonder, all right, how much damage is being done by playing these games at the end of the season as you play out the string? But the fact that they were able to have that third period and they were able to rally and they were able to, do a lot of the kind of things in that third period and into overtime and the shootout that Jared Bednar was talking about the other day, where he was saying, hey, it's not necessarily about the results. It's about making sure we don't develop bad habits. Make sure we just stay on top of those things that are important down the stretch here, getting ready for the playoffs, even if they don't necessarily translate into 2 points. So it was looking like it could be a complete washout with this game. But the way that they came out in the third period, I think they got enough out of that third period that even what happened in those first two periods kind of get erased in the overall big picture.
Yeah, glass half full view. I like it too. I mean, it felt like a theft of 2 points. The Avalanche stole 2 points last night. And you look at the standings, I don't think Minnesota or St. Louis was catching them, but those 2 points, it's good to just keep them at bay. Obviously, Dallas trying to track down Winnipeg and whatnot. The Avs look pretty locked in, but you do play the Blues on Saturday, so you didn't want to lose that one, and all of a sudden you look up and you're only 2 or 3 ahead of St. Louis, who is red hot. So kind of a sneaky big 2 points. Mike and I will be back on Tuesday for another edition of Mile High Hockey. Enjoy your weekend, and remember, everyone, the playoffs are getting closer and closer.
Yes.